Hello, welcome to our channel. In today's episode, we will share the chilling story of the Benders, the first family of serial killers in America. The Bender family immigrated from Germany to the United States in the late 1800s and terrorized the settlement where they moved. Operating as a recreational facility, their inn became a sinister trap. Once someone stepped inside, escape became an impossibility. This sinister reality unfolded against the backdrop of the 19th century Civil War that ravaged many parts of the United States. One of these regions was Kansas, where American troops were fighting with the Indians living in the region. The United States government won a victory in these war and started clearing some areas from Indians. Kansas was among the places that was cleared of local Indians and turned into a place where European settlers could immigrate. The Indians expelled from the region settled in Oklahoma, where a new Indian region was established. That's how the Bender family, who came from Germany, settled in the region. The Bender family had a land of around 160 acres. John Bender and his family were among the first German immigrants to arrive in the area. He was in his 60s, and his English was very poor. He had a wife named Elvira, a son named John Jr., and a daughter Kate. The family built their house on the road frequently used by people who did trade. The house consisted of a single room and was divided into two parts with a curtain. The family members lived in the back of the house, while the front side was used for selling agricultural foods and contained a small restaurant for the passengers passing by. It was a basic facility for taking a rest. The Bender family advertised their inn as a safe recreational facility for passengers. Time would reveal how safe it was. John and his wife Elvira's English was not very good. In fact, other families living in the area had difficulty understanding them. John Jr. and Kate had a good English. People wouldn't understand what John Sr. was saying. Elvira was a harsh and cold woman. That's why she was called a she-devil in her neighborhood. Apart from keeping an inn, the family was engaged in farming and animal husbandry. Their daughter Kate had claimed that she had psychic powers and was organizing sessions. She claimed she could communicate with the dead. In this way, she became a well-known person in the region in a short period of time. Strange events started occurring in 1871 after the family settled down completely. In May 1871, a man with a crashed head was found near the district. This incident didn't attract too much attention. The man was not a local. This incident was just the beginning. A similar incident occurred in early 1872. That year, passengers passing through the infamous Osage Trail would disappear one by one. This caused panic, and people were now afraid of passing through that area. Occasionally, people unrelated to these crimes would be arrested and released when found not guilty. Years passed like this. Those who stopped by the township Osage would disappear. No one knew back then that the passengers' last destination was Osage Township. This fact would be revealed much later. The disappearance of George Newton Lone Corps in 1873 led to some investigations. George had bought a wagon from the neighbor Dr. William Henry York and had left Independence. After a while, he also was among those who disappeared. But his disappearance attracted Dr. York's attention. He had recently lost his wife and had an 18-month-old baby. Where could he disappear? Finding out that Lone Corps' wagon had been abandoned in Fort Scott, he set off. Dr. York came across the Bender family's inn on his way to Fort Scott. He made the worst mistake in his life by entering the inn. The doctor never came back. Things got even worse with his disappearance. Dr. York was a member of a well-known family in Independence. One of his brothers was Colonel Ed York, while the other was Kansas Regional Senator Alexander York. Influential people would be searching for him. Upon receiving the news of his brother's disappearance, Colonel Ed York formed a team of 75 people. The search operation that started in Independence led to the Bender family. The colonel went to the inn to ask the owners whether they had seen his brother. The family denied to ever have met Dr. York. The colonel continued his search. While carrying out search operation, the colonel heard certain things about the Bender family. Hearing that Elvira had threatened a woman with a knife, he returned to the inn. Elvira said she had nothing to do with the crime and kicked them out. but the area where the colonel would work was now clear. A meeting was arranged in the Harmony Grove schoolhouse. The colonel was going to talk about disappearances, including that of Dr. York. The meeting was also attended by John Bender and his family. Everyone was wondering what was going on. At the end of the meeting, they obtained a warrant to search every home. Alarm bells started to ring for the Bender family. A few days later, one of the residents noticed that animals in Bender's property were dead, but when they entered the place, they didn't find any trace of Benders. They had all left the house. The animals must have died of hunger. When Leroy, who headed the search of the Bender property working for the investigation, entered the house, he found a locked door. There was a bad smell coming from the room. After opening the door, the search team was faced with a horrible scene. It was an empty room under the door. There was no body in it, but there was clotted blood everywhere. It was obvious that horrible things had happened here. So, who did the blood belong to? They decided to start excavations around the house and in the garden. On the very first day, the body of the doctor was found in a shallow grave in the garden, and family became exposed. The following day, body parts of 10 people were discovered in other parts of the garden and inside the well, but the Bender's family had disappeared. Search operations were being carried out everywhere. Meanwhile, it was revealed that some people who stayed in the inn had managed to escape. According to the testimony of these people, the Bender family would first feed the visitors. The guests would be seated at the table, while John Bender would sit opposite the guest. Another family member would come from behind and hit the guest's head with a hard object like a hammer, making him faint. Then they would cut his throat to make sure that he was dead and throw him into that room. The procedures on bodies would be done there, so that there was no blood stain on the outside. This is how America's first serial killer family would end people's lives. According to the investigation, these murders were not done for money. The family was committing these crimes for pleasure. The research carried out in that house revealed very interesting facts. In fact, John Jr. was not Bender. His real name was John Chapard. It was likely that he was not Kate's brother. Later, it was revealed that none of them were Bender. Perhaps only Kate could have been Elvira's child. It was revealed that Elvira's real name was Almira Mark. John Singer Bender was not a Bender either. He was John Flickinger before moving from Germany or Netherlands. The Bender family was using fake names. This made their search even more difficult. A monetary reward was offered for the family's arrest. Detectives believed that members of the family fled separately. They had scattered around different regions. A detective claimed to have found the family members who were already dead, but the bodies were never found. The gangs, who heard about the reward money, were also looking for the family. Even though they killed many people in a bid to find the family, they could not reach the family. Only a group of illegal gangs announced that they found the family and killed them. Dead bodies couldn't be found again. In 1884, someone who resembled John Bender was arrested on suspicion of committing a crime. Investigators in Kansas were immediately notified and a request was made to assist to identify the captured man. But the unidentified man who was caught died from blood loss while trying to escape by cutting his foot. During the time of slow communication, the suspect was buried without his identity being revealed. In 1889, a mother and her daughter were arrested for theft in Michigan. The mother's name was Almira. The daughter's was Sarah Elizabeth. They were accused of being Elvira and Kate. The women were brought to Kansas to be identified. However, they were not the suspects. They were sent back to Michigan. As the search for the Bender family proved fruitless, the legend surrounding them gained momentum at an accelerating pace. The entire country was aware of the serial killer family. People would visit the Bender's property. Hammers found in the house were exhibited in the House Museum. The museum had thousands of visitors before it was closed in 1978. People would visit to see the belongings of this legendary family. The first family of serial killers in America managed to elude capture after committing their heinous crimes. Their names are etched in history, written in ominous black letters. It's possible that their grandchildren live oblivious to their family's dark past. or that family members met in timely ends at various points in time. None of them were ever apprehended, and their infamous legacy persists in the region.